Gilg Jew, Gilg J as Gilg Nerach.
Shoh you Claare na Gael as Bobiliam Shoh Haltacha. My name is Robert Corteen Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Have I heard tell of old Bobby Bob?
And in this programme, Claare na Gael, part of it is in the English language as to Pertji Sachilg, and part of it is in the Manx Gaelic, Chinian Amera, the mother tongue of Aigh Vanning, the Isle of Man. As Banachtan dew as Hunron Rish, blend by nod you, Valier jit na fos rechit, and son to Cummel and Shan Eilier for thee. William Gell of Onken left us basking in the light of Robert Stevenson's Point of Ayre lighthouse, which was built in 1818. William Gell has brought us here in his poem, published in 1906, Mannin Veg Veen, subtitled A Poetical Sketch of the Isle of Man. As ta sin Jane scielen na brerach and Grimm, ta grey scielen ferrish ruach, squech te lure at Dominic as Dominic ta rachlid as nieuw ginlis jay de chully horse regetten on thou. William Gell taiachlish Baase na Kirkey, as be tullu, we sciel Elier and son. We start with a song about the month of January. This is in fact a well-known song and is performed here by Scottish singer JANICE Burns with John DORAN from Newcastle upon Tyne. Tashu geisjachrish Radio Vanning, Stasiwn and Ashun, with Scholar Scalia Mach by Dúlish, Aigh Vanning.
It was in the month of January, the hills were white with snow. When over hill and valley my true
'Twas in the month of January when the hills were white with snow. Now, what made me play that this week, eh? Well, that was Janice Burns and John Doran. They're based in Newcastle on Tyne, but Janice draws on her Scottish heritage for many songs. During William Gell's poetical tour of the island, from Douglas Head and down the east coast, round the Sound and up the west coast all the way to the Point of Ayre, he's drawn our attention to the lighthouses at Dressick Point on the southern tip of Loch Ness and the Chicken Rock. Well, the Chicken Rock Lighthouse was the work of David and Thomas Stevenson in 1875, and Dressick Point Lighthouse was again the work of David and Thomas Stevenson in 1880. They were the sons of Robert Stevenson, and the Point of Ayre lighthouse was Robert's work. The commissioners for Northern Lights had been appointed to provide lighthouses for the island in 1815, and Robert Stevenson's Point of Ayre lighthouse was the first of those, built in 1818 and first lit in 1819. However, it was Robert's son David who was responsible for the additional lower light, which was called Winky, and that, up at the Point of Ayre, and that was built in 1890, although it's not been in use since 2010. So this is where we've reached in Mannin Veg Veen, a poetical sketch of the Isle of Man. Cyd raw hai a celach as a chiach gysliw na croen, as renad cordel ro law, quai by jaw ynach fedden cro, de gynach vraine ern ferelia. As ren na chiark fedden cro fi voer. Ach, door die weg mag jon. As wij fooi as sledden de lummergen. Ach, rauwer van bi gro, nach doddy slugge schiese. As henke de wij gaatse skornachek. De rauwie goelaal de bergie erne tachte. Gelach! Dilly, reiche bew as oddesu was correcht au perte ostje, nonne higum de wij tachtit. Maar so, renne kellach reiche bew as dodeg as a truen, as door they. Truen? Cor au perte ostje, ten jaar hoes en shed, as de gulle tachte les kro moer gotse skornachek. Ach dreiger a truen. Haiach, reiges a ven fusi. As gin shira ori, pert de chiege jurg. Maar so ren a kellach raig as a ven fusi as doorte. Ven fusi, cord au pert de chiege jurg. I'm saying truan here, of course, if you're in the south it'd be truggan, but it's the struggan and the struan on the north. Now this is a Welsh song with lyrics by David Davies. He was living in the Llyn in North Wales, and the tune is that, of course, a Bachgen Mine, and it's a farming song by David Davies about the steam-driven threshing machine. And this is Gwilym Bowen Rhys, a Dwrnwr Tân.
O fawen, rwy'n ymddeffro unwaith eto I geisio can. Ar ryw destun, ddigon anodd sef ar ddiwrnod y dyrnwr tân. O mor brysur fydd y diwrnod, pan y bydd yn dechrau troi ar ein ffarmwr, fydd yn gweiddi cymon boes yn ddiymdroi. Dau ohonoch, medd yn union ewch I daflu'r ryd I lawr. Rhain ni'n cwyno yn anghyffredin fod ysguban o do fawr. Rhaid gael dau neu drio ddynion, lle driw gryfion at y gwellt, pan y bydd yn dechrau chwrnu fydd ffordd cheidia fel y mellt. Ond byn agos I manghofio rhaid gael un I gario'r is fewn a llefnyn. Y gwaith yma ma'n anodd iawn gael job ddim is. Chi a wyddoch y gorchwyl nesa yw darlunio'r cinio neis, cig a thatws, a ffwm bwdyn a dipyn bach o bwdyn reis. Na dydyw hyn ond lol. Do fe welais lawer llencyn ar ôl bita'n rwbio I fol. Wedi gorffan yr oll helynt, gwelir pawb yn mynd drachefn tuag adra, yn flinedig pawb a'i bicwach ar ei gefn. Wedi gorffan yr oll helynt, gwelir pawb yn mynd drachefn tuag adra, yn flinedig pawb a'i bicwach ar ei gefn.
A singer and multi-instrumentalist from Bethel in North Wales is Gwilym Bowen Rhys, and the song Y Dornwr Tân. Tan Celach Claare. Tan trúin sirar am de chorgi pert de híja jurg. Tammy sirar I pert ostius an a chiarg, tan a lion shid, as gular tachte, les crow moor gots a scornachek. Ach, dregger a ven fusi. Hoiach, imi as cor lesta was slonga nem ta crocha bilja shellach. As ren a kellach raigus and shellach, as hjarne a slongan vain vangan, as ren a cor leshe gus a ven fusi. As hug a ven fusi de and shija jurg. As ren a cor leshe gus a truan. As hug a truan de ustja. Ma so eish ren a kellach cor leshen ustja gus a chiarg. Ach a trai, ve ro anmach. Van chiarg jit de ve tachtich heder an deg rei, as vi na lai on shen, as ish maru. As van kellach o siechnich, de ren a kenia erurt, as hen gullion de been, as ren a dobber an son a chiarg. As ren she lucky troggle kurt beg, ori demerke chiarg wachus an ayek, as trevi erlu, hugged dat heenji, as ren a kellach imman. Now, at the Point of Ayre itself, William Gell continues, how fitly named this point of light, for ambient air, at depth or height, holds no appreciable weight. This is an I rhyme, light and height rhyme, but spelled differently. Height and weight don't rhyme, although they share a similar spelling pattern. William Gell enthuses about the Point of Ayre with another triplet, with that same rhyme, in fact. Was coronet ever yet bedight with gems so fair? Did crown of might e'er hold a jewel half so bright? Across the channel, just a glance at other air, with weird romance of Alloway kirk and eerie dance, when Tam O'Shanter, primed with ale, had braved the eldritch witches' hail, and nothing lost but Maggie's tale. Well, glancing at Scotland, yes, but Ayre in Scotland is certainly not in sight. However, William Gell introduces thoughts of Ayre and Robbie Burns and the tale of Tam O'Shanter, when Nanny, the Alloway witch, tries to grab hold of him, but only gets the grey tail of his mare Meg or Maggie. A trio from Sligo, Oisin McDermott on accordion, Di Gormley on fiddle and Samantha Harvey on piano, playing the title track from their album The Lane to the Glen. Shoh stasiwn na nasiwn Radio Vanning, res an Shoh sé Claare na Gael bescoil sgéliamach, mer an pín Robert Corteen Carwell, Robert a Carslach.
Have you heard tell of our Bobby Bob?
Ta céadú golgus in a Radio Vanning as Ryan Craman agart, de éisteach rische Claare Shoh is seacht an lugtí golar scéil yéine an Kirkey, gur is immer die uur an elia de Claare an Radio Vanning. Ta podcast golla jinno J. Claare na Gael nies, vis regaden nasty trud in a Radio Vanning, na trud an reichier de podcast jou. Apple Podcasts, Amazon Audible, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, na Alexa. Well, William Gell gets quite excited about Scotland now he's mentioned it. Fair Caledonia I dishonour spurns. Each leal and patriotic son inerns the memory of immortal Bobby Burns, of Wallace and of Bruce, of Scott and Miller. Well, the immortal Bobby Burns needs no explanation, nor William Wallace and King Robert the Bruce. We were thinking of the work of Sir Walter Scott in relation to Peel Castle when William Gell reminded us of Peveril of the Peak. Miller, well, I wasn't sure. I think perhaps it relates to Hugh Miller. He was born in 1802. He was something of a polymath, in fact, though without academic credentials. In 1829, he published a book of poetry, and in 1834, Scenes and Legends in the North of Scotland. He'd started out as a stonemason, in fact, but such was his learning, he just absorbed everything he could get his hands on. He became an accountant. He edited the magazine of the Free Church of Scotland, and he wrote knowledgeably about geology and paleontology, and in fact very much put in place the dating of fossils and so on. After his death in December of 1856, his wife Lydia, who was a writer herself, compiled and published collections of his magazine and other articles, so that may be the Miller meant here. If it's not, well, I've been searching in vain for whatever Miller it might be. Red henked quail a chinnach. Hello, chellach, dilia, cred tau gol. Don loch a machark, drega kellach. Wel, kid, thou chit nies, vrije shinnach. Te, me vis u gaart arm door de kellach. Me so dire shinnach as de leer merish, van mode holde, a ma gouwen, a fai firren, a lion, as ulju na baen Jane Gael. As high and faman rosh, der a renkert struwen. Krenacht, fod much cost na herrie, door de kellach. As onze troen was strouw, as doort en strouw, nim cor mi heen de lai Harry, as de vod shugol Harry arms. Ach trev an a she lucky a rashen and drochad Shoh, ren de strouw skirra as hutchi stjachs an usje, as ren ad ulju tujum stjach on, as vad bite. Me saw vad on steed geolk as vad riw, tre henk Glout Gael gesaw, as doorthe de jinnach corra heen the lie Harry, as de vodachad gol harish. Ach, geleers weer wenten rishenostja, renne tassan, ve muchit, as ve maru. Now this crossing starts off calm, but becomes rather more frisky as singer and trumpet player Jan Cam takes us across to Brittany.
Indi maweni pour men Taraz je krijs me ven Indi maweni pour men Taraz je krijs me ven Ma varwe un olbronsaw Agol goulouve en brancard Ma varwe un olbronsaw Agol goulouve en brancard Dimeni yaï un olbile Per vous qu'aveu bouche d'irbe
Imeni ya yenol bile Pervu kavak bucha dirba Inashimora gargouillon Manevene je murgi Inashimora gargouillon Arrête au lance na tolbui Trazai de vous dans l'onde, zoui kreizen en ashtenat. Trazai de vous dans l'onde, zoui kreizen en ashtenat. Marsenita yawandi, sa voce mur, sa pirdui. Marsenita yawandi, sa voce mur, sa pirdui. Inashimora gargouillon, malevene, che murdui. Inashimora gargouillon, arrête au lance, na tolbui.
A Breton song called Tre, and it was sung by Ioan Cam. Tre means a crossing there, and Ioan Cam also played the trumpet. Honnig Claare Shoh as ver rishek as an oder au I giri cúna leis a chelach, huggi hín na lai heris a trúin. As ren a kelach, tar na chart leis a chearc varu ongi, de sautje gus a tjau elia. As eis gau I toiach de tarn heris na fyr elia va gaert ernies. Ach, ve raur a hon. Ren a chartjen de bunruskin, as renned ulju tusjum stjachs an ustje, and derre je kiaull en je elia. As, wat ulju bait. Maar zo, van kellach fegit sledden na lummerken merische chearc varu. As renne raure Aigh-vie, as huggi na lai stjach ongi, as renne trogel krongan erskinnek, as haia shis, as renne dobber en chogier, de renne verjere, gedden Baase. As me so, vad ulju maru kujach. Wel, krijg je een shen zo'n skielbaan, ra best na kirke van skiel shen, nog henke mag verjere holder ouwe ulju maru. Carnegie Hill, the mon the muckle siller, with trusty bannerman who hoards the tiller. Well, Carnegie Hill, Andrew Carnegie was born in Dunfermline in 1835, and his family emigrated when he was 12 to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in the USA. He made a fortune in the steel industry, but was a great philanthropist. In the last 18 years of his life, he gave to charitable causes, foundations and universities, giving out about 90% of his fortune, the equivalent of about $11 billion these days. So, as you can see, even the 10% he retained would have kept him quite comfortably. And then we have Trusty Bannerman, who holds the tiller. Well, Bannerman is in inverted commas. This actually refers to Henry Campbell. He'd been born in Glasgow under that name in 1836, becoming Campbell Bannerman in 1871 through a stipulation in the will of his mother's brother. From that he became generally known as C.B. William Gell's poem is from 1906, and from 1905 to 1908 the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom was C.B., Henry Campbell Bannerman. Now, he started off with a song about something that happened in the month of January, and the start of January here in the island, of course, brings remembrance of the judicial murder of William Christian.
Shin sul ye shin hog the nodgen at hoist ions fear she true fagus gonless farm out on yer be as te the veselium mubrishan and griep Bellen the set of the necronas by Bionus of the Garachen booze all the high she true fagas gonless farm out on yer be ach te the veselium mubrishan and griep Valley grey and dank screwn and the court to the best Lesh finish and falls above fallen then grace and bing the harlach the bind the gilmui as te the vesilium obration and grief Lig feren se talu fer Elias and ne ac Eliam a cowell lig se volche Eliam a chawl slochna bebwi she the vesilium donor and brishan and griep Nims me na hajach lesh mojas trashtel the wagons banglan the grina heisa well coats nigher an urgent lesh orderary get the vesilium don brishan and grief Dreamer and Mishara crying a lie the bears look tillium donals runas fine and Nogin Joel cast it as a hidden neck sheep as Glen Christine Gennell as Glen
Gurgen Cúideach and the song made on the death of William Dawn. Well, having praised some famous sons of Caledonia, William Gell then resorts to a less favourable Scottish stereotype. Some lusty callants travel south, though stout of heart, oft down at mouth, with keen, insatiable druth. Well, another eye rhyme with mouth and druth. But here he's throwing in the idea, of course, of hard-drinking Scots with insatiable druth and insatiable thirst, who, he says, will chant the praises of Auld Reekie, of Haggis Braw and Cock-a-Leekie, with knees and shins, aye, scant of breekie. Well, Auld Reekie is the name for smoky old Edinburgh, and then he mentions haggis and cock-a-leekie, and then they're always wearing kilts, he says, because their knees and shins are scant of breekie, short of or bereft of trousers. But hoots-a-wah, we maun resume, lest you, dear raider, fret and fume. Broad Ramsey Bay gives good sea room when breezes hurtle from the west, make storm stars toss bark a welcome guest, with life corps spry to do their best. As Nishkaskil en mesich, Aigh-vie eg Hans. For Hans en jinu shirweest en vansje rishach bline, as eg jerre jacht u vlein door te vansje, ten treem jit gekjon. Tammy giri gul tai as fagen bevoir, maar so kordau mail. Tauus en jinu shirweest tau, de kaart as de firrenjacht door de mansje, Martin shirweest liezig de Aigh-vie. As hugge de glout de air gemoer ze kjonegge. Jarn Hanse wuddelegge mach as a foggage, as renne fille as kjon de glout de air on. Grogge nisse a gielen, as higher rosh a red taiegge. Gouds vi trogerach rish a red, henk rish dunje markjach kavel blior, as Jean vier jesh as ledden de vree. Oh, dilly Hanser eard, kreeg o stomme de wee markjach in ouders, de wee de high wish egen shed, as ons care woer, gin snapper al herish klacher be, spirail na bregen ed, as gul rod ons acht na velu Gael de bonus. A tune composed by a visit to Cruniach in July, Cornish musician and singer Richard Trethewey, performing it there with The Rowan Tree. He wrote that after a visit to Laura's house, which is the title he gave it, and we heard Laura herself there on flute. Stasiwn yn asiwn shin yn Shoh radio vanim, as ta siw geisjach cartnish, rish Claare na Gael. She Robert Corteen Carslmish, Robert a Carslach.
Did the other hear tell of old Bobby Bob?
Ren na marka kabil, clashtyn Hans grey Shoh, as die air. Wel Hans, kren fair na veloch, osach kosh. Genaun jaart hem door Hans, tan glout moer Shoh de immerke. De wee shigge she toon, nog eish gaan not kumbel soes me gaan de girach kunte jay, as te gorte me gielen. Wel, Shoh me chorl dort markach kabel, lig dun kunra. Jem kordot me kabel, as neos kordouwe glout dead de hair. Lesh olju me gree door Hans, ach tabi koraudet, de ginu feathen maag de valley trom. As renne markach glimmenoes, Gawe and Ayre, as look that kuna lesh hans de chas na sus, hug gain na strien and stjag ons a lauwege. Trebe valjat golde blew, doorte, signed ut kriggel de chinje, as illig mag, hupjat. As for Hans, gouds veen a haier moen a gabelegge, goil bogus a griege, as renne marka grosh ons gin mai. Well, it's only a short look at Ramsey Bay before we continue southwards. And we pass over it, and immediately, and he says, by the eastern shoulder bone, towering headland, Machel's throne. Neptune's horses ceaseless moan, charging close compacted rank of serried rock on either flank, in offing great Bahama bank. Dangerous heap on ocean's bed, yet has Jack but little dread. Trinity's beam is overhead. Well, Trinity House established the Bahama Bank light vessel in 1848 to mark the 5 mile, that's an 8 kilometre stretch of the bank. At certain states of the tide, the Bahama Bank may only have a metre of water over parts of it. The light vessel was 80 foot in length, 25 metres that's to say, 20 foot in beam, 6 metres, but there were 7 men on board and they were required to hoist 2 oil-fired lights, one at 10 metres and the other at 4 metres, and they also had to fire a gun and sound a gong in fog. I should think it must have been fairly uncomfortable because it didn't have any means of propulsion, so it just sat. It had a small sail to turn its head to the wind, and that was all it could do. So it must have been very uncomfortable, particularly in rough weather. It went out of use, the Bahama Bank light vessel, when David Stevenson's Mackled Head lighthouse came into operation in 1914. Well, now, this is a dreadful link, but anyway, I shall go ahead. With David Stevenson's being a Scottish engineer associated with things maritime, this now is Ingrid Henderson with A Song of the Mermaid, Oran the Magin Mara. Scottish singer, harp player, Ingrid Henderson with Oran the Margin Vara, the song of the mermaid. And there's another little homage to Robert Burns in the next stanza. Passing south, now reach we soon fair Glen Mona, bonny Doon, where the streamlets softly croon lullabies to the banks and braes through the glorious summer days, while sweet songsters pipe their lays. But when summer days are o'er, and the songsters sing no more, bounding with torrential roar, leaping the rugged rock cliffs adown, where, poled from monarch's stately crown, the fallen leaves lie dank and brown, no tear, how nature's diverse ways compel again the wondering gaze, with frowning brows and rocky base. Mark, too, the force of human will, how feats of engineering skill o'ercame the steep and toilsome hill. I didn't quite make it there with the rhyme in ways, gaze and base, but there we are. What we're asked to mark after that is the main road from the Doon down towards Laxey. Now this section of the road from Glen Mona to Minorca was developed by Glen Mona man Edward Corteen. Look tamalt smunia de babai lesh gol na stavi. Maso gawi toich de krikkel lesh a chiniega. As a illach mach hubliat. As gawa kabel toich de driddel. As per hands kout schies ros maar ook visegge krever cheetagert. As on shen wen a lice jig eg chowner edge. Wege kabel a gosner soel. Bij de rawi gotjek bodach, vogel sha wol shen, as gimman boerosh. As hoek hans diersen heen, as gossen de weinig jade werne gatenegge, as gennachten viech horry. Gebacht markjach doort lie sauwit guris Shoh, ta goil taiacht as de kiaull shisu rosh me vis fissek vis tagert, as bonnes brisje de wannel. Ga jenem arach corre ber a gam an shenrich. Ach, sfew de wel a boe shen as fuddy u driddle rosh the sour na jai, as gedden a banya as an eam as a kejek dach lei mordurach. Genel beg nach jinnen course on lid a boer. Now this is perhaps a different musical setting to frame a well-known Welsh song, but Bethania sings Begailio Gwyneth Gwyn straightforwardly enough.
ein ffyddlon I ti. Dywedi mir gwir heb gel, a rodan sil dy tebion, pinai my fi neu arall gwen, yw orau gen dy galon.
Welsh singer and harp player Bethan Nia and begailiwr Gwyneth Gwyn watching over the white wheat. Nishesh dŵr dy bodach. Nôd y biliad y bondeish Dutch machas. Gamalish nôd y biliad y bondeish Dutch machas. Scummad aw cwnra bwa ems on a chabaled. Ren hans cordel fibog oil. As van bodach, look der lees de heens jachs a jilt, de leer a shilia. As ren hans gol the red, as gimman the boer egger rosh, as smunnion the cledden tray a vargen brow jintegger. Well, tull you Jane skiel Shoh machaun Aigh-vie hans richit a nachir. Now, rather than climbing steeply out of the dune and then going up and over Ballarach, the new main road cut a ledge round the headland, and of course no more strikingly than at Bulgham Bay. Well, we'll rejoin William Gell's Mannin Veg Veen from here next time. Well, stand by for Chris Pearson with 2 hours of the best chill-out music from 7 till 9. And then at 9, Judith Leigh will be here to present Sundown. We're closing Claare Gael this time by going on the biggest little journey with Irish quintet Gwitcha. As nôd y Welsh yn guljourne, Shanay as yn treir jet de chorcion Claare Gael y Shoh. And so until the next time then, this is Robert Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Oh, Bobby Bob.
Wishing you a very good night. Aigh-vie as orchelier, as my year and shared you will you.